Man, 10 years. Can you believe it's been 10 years since Halo 5 Guardians dropped? Time really does fly when you're arguing about whether a game killed the franchise or saved its multiplayer. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. How is this the only mainline Halo game that still hasn't made it to PC or Master Chief Collection? Well, grab your controller, dust off the Xbox because we're diving deep into what might be the most diverse Halo game ever made. So here's the thing about Halo 5. It's complicated, really complicated. This one isn't one of those reviews where I can just tell you if it's good or bad and call it a day. No, this is a game that is like that friend who's amazing at parties but terrible at keeping promises. It does something so well that it makes other Halo games look dated, and then it turns around and makes some baffling decisions that makes you wonder if anyone at 43 actually played their own campaign. I've been going back to Halo 5 recently, partly because Halo Infinite player count has been doing its best impression of a cliff diver, and partly because I wanted to see if time has been controversial entry. And you know what? The answer surprised me. See, when I strip away all the launch drama and the misleading marketing and all the expectations that were built up and then crushed like a grunt under a scorpion tank, you're left with a game that's actually fascinating to examine. Let me paint a picture for you real quick. Right now, as I'm recording this, Halo Infinite is struggling to maintain 1,000 congruent players on Steam. Meanwhile, Halo, a game that's been locked to Xbox for over a decade, that never got the PC port everyone wanted, that requires you to either own an Xbox One or a newest series console just to play it, that game still has an active multiplayer lobbies. You can still jump into Slayer, find a match in under a minute, and have a good time. That should tell you something, doesn't it? But before we get into why people are still playing this thing, let's talk about what Halo actually is, because if you're new to the series or you skipped this one back in 2015, you might be wondering what all the fuss is about. Halo Guardians was the industry's second crack at making a mainline Halo game. They had already taken heat with Halo for changing too much of the classic formula. So with Halo, they needed to prove something. They needed to show they understood what made Halo special while pushing the series forward into a modern era of shooters. The result was a game that felt like it was designed by two completely different teams who never talked to each other. On one side, you had the multiplayer team who created what was considered the best cooperative Halo experience since Halo. On the other hand, you had the campaign team who decided that what players really wanted was to spend 80% of the game playing someone named Locke instead of Master Chief. Yeah, that went over as well as you probably would expect it to. Now, accessing Halo 5 today is its own adventure. Since it never came to PC, your options are limited. You need an Xbox Series 1, Series S, or a Series X to play it. The game looks and runs phenomenally on one of the newer hardwares thanks to its backwards compatibility. We're still talking steady 60 frames per second at up to 4K on Xbox Series X, which makes it feel more modern than you actually expect from a decade-old game. The graphics hold up surprisingly well too. This isn't some crusty old shooter that looks like it was made on Play-Doh. The art direction might be divisive, but it's still technically impressive. And here's where things get interesting. Despite being trapped on one platform, despite never joining his brothers in Master Chief Collection, despite all the barriers to entry, people are still playing Halo 5. The multiplayer community isn't massive, but it's consistent. You got your regulars playing since launch, newcomers who picked it up on Game Pass, and refugees from Halo Infinite who wanted something different. It's like this weird little ecosystem that refuses to die. Finding matches depends on what you're trying to play. Arena modes like Slayer, Team Slayer, and SWAT are still pretty active, especially during peak hours. You might need to wait a minute or two, but you'll get into a game. Big team battle can be a hit or miss, and Warzone, the massive 24-player mode that was supposed to be the future of Halo multiplayer, well, that's where things get a little tougher. During primetime and on weekends, you might get lucky, but don't expect to jump into a Warzone match at 3 AM on a Tuesday night. The thing is, those who stuck around or came back to Halo 5 multiplayer are there because it offers something unique into the franchise. And I'm not just talking about Spartan abilities, though we'll get to those. I'm talking about the philosophy behind the multiplayer. After Halo's 4 loadout system and the kill streak made everyone feel like they were playing Call of Duty with just shields, Halo 5 brought back the arena shooter purity. Everyone starts with the same weapons, map controls mattered again, and power weapons spawn on timers that are good team track and control. It's Halo's at its most competitive, but with modern movement and mechanics that make it feel fresh even today. So let's talk about those Spartan abilities, because they're what really define Halo 5's gameplay. every Spartan, whether you're playing campaign, multiplayer, comes equipped with the thrust pack that fundamentally changes how you move and fight. You can thrust in any direction for a quick dodge or to extend a jump. You can sprint indefinitely, though your shields won't recharge while you're running. Build up enough speed and you can slide into cover or shoulder charge an enemy. You can clamber up ledges and essentially give you a mantle mechanic that lets you reach places that you wouldn't been able to off limits in other Halos. You can ground pound from above, crushing enemies beneath you. Perhaps most controversially, you can aim down sights with every weapon in the game. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. This sounds like just every popular shooter mechanic and just stuffed into Halo. And honestly, when the game first came out, that's exactly what a lot of people said. But the thing here is that it works. It all comes together in a way that's cohesive and, dare I say, more true to what a Spartan should be capable of than any other previous Halo game. You're supposed to be the super soldier in a power armor, but in older games, you couldn't even climb over a high waist wall. Halo 5 made you feel agile, just as powerful as they always said you were. The thrust pack in particular is genius game design. It's not just a dodge button, it's a tool that completely changes how encounters play out. You can thrust backwards while throwing a grenade to create distance. You can thrust sideways to dodge a sniper shot you see coming. You can thrust forward to close a gap for a kill. Good players thrust with slides, jumps, and to move through maps in ways that would make classic players head spin. The skill ceiling for movement alone is incredibly high. And then there's the smart scope, which caused massive controversy when it was first announced. Every weapon from the assault rifle to the energy has some form of down sights functionality, but here's the clever part. It's not like Call of Duty where ADS is mandatory for accuracy. Halo is more of a zoom function that helps with precision but comes with trade-off. You move slower, your peripheral vision is more reduced, and most importantly, you get de-scoped when you take damage. Just like the old games, it's modern additions like that that still respects Halo's unique gunplay. The weapons themselves feels incredible. Each gun has weight and impact that you can feel through the controller. Headshots makes this satisfying metallic ping that sounds like crack on audio. The Promethean weapons, which are pretty boring in Halo 4, got a complete overhaul with unique firing patterns and cool disintegration effects. The classic weapons also got all upgraded too. The battle rifle feels snappier, the DMR has more punch, and the assault rifle is actually useful for once instead of being immediately dropped for literally every. Map design and mode is some of the best in the series. These aren't the massive vehicle-focused battlegrounds of big team battle. They're tightly designed competitive spaces where every line, every piece of cover, every jump has been carefully considered. Map like Truth, a spiritual successor to Midship, showcases perfect symmetrical design for competitive play. Plaza takes advantage of the new movement abilities with multiple levels and flanking routes that reward players who master the clamber and thrust mechanics. Coliseum brings back that classic Halo while accommodating the new movement system perfectly. But it wasn't just the gameplay that kept people coming back. Forge mode in Halo 5 is absolutely insane. After launching a couple months post-release, it became the most powerful map editor ever put in a console game. We're talking about full scripting abilities, thousands of objects, texture customization, weather effects, tool that lets creative players basically make entirely new game modes. The community has been creating everything from a remake of classic maps to completely original game types that feel like different games entirely. There are racing modes, puzzle maps, recreation of battles from other games, even working recreation of Duck Hunt and other retro games. 10 years of community content means there's basically infinite stuff to play if you know where to look. Alright, let's talk about Warzone, because this one was supposed to be Halo's answer to large-scale Warfare games. 24 players, AI enemies, boss battles, vehicles everywhere, and captures. Sounds amazing, right?
Right, yeah, of course.
And when it works, when you get a good match with two teams that know what they're doing, it really does do something special. You got Spartans fighting the Promethean forces while also battling each other. Boss enemies spawn that both teams race to kill for massive point. Tanks, banshees, mantis, and create this controlled chaos that no other Halo mode has ever matched. But here's where things get complicated. The REQ system. Oh boy, the REQ system. This was Halo's big monetization moment, and it's probably the most controversial thing about the multiplayer. So here's how it works. As you play matches, you earn points that you can spawn packs. These packs contain cosmetic items like armor pieces and weapon skins, but they also contain single-use cards for weapons and vehicles you can spawn in Warzone matches. Yeah, you heard that right. Microtransactions that affect gameplay. your torches and sharpening your pitchforks. Let me explain how 343 tried to balance this. You can't just buy a bunch of REQ packs and spawn tanks at the start of the match. Every Warzone game has an energy system. You can't just buy a bunch of REQ packs and spawn a tank at the start of the match. Every Warzone game has an energy system and REQ level that you earn by playing well. Kill enemies, capture bases, and take down bosses all raise your REQ level and give you energy. A basic Warhog might cost 2 energy at REQ level 3, while a Scorpion tank requires REQ level 6 and most of your energy pool. So even if someone bought 1,000 REQ packs, they still need to earn the right to use their toys in each match.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
This system is actually pretty clever from a game balance perspective. It prevents scenarios while still letting people who spend money feel like they're getting something valuable. And everything in the REQ system can be earned through regular gameplay. There's nothing exclusive to paying customers. Plus, 343 used the REQ money to fund free DLC for everyone, which kept the player from splitting like it did in previous Halo games, where it cost $16 a pop. But let's be real, it's still a microtransaction in Halo, and that still rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. The randomized nature of the REQ packs meant you could real money and get a bunch of cosmetics you don't care about instead of getting that sick Norfane sniper rifle variant that you wanted. It created this whole economy where players would save up REQ points for a gold pack or buy a bronze pack to maximize their own, and it felt very mobile game-like in a franchise that never had to deal with this stuff before. The REQ system made bank though. According to industry analysis, Halo 5's microtransaction made more money in 6 months than any previous Halo DLC. Unlike those old map packs that split the community, everyone got the new maps for free. From a business perspective, it worked. From a player perspective, your mileage varied depending on how you felt about a $60 game.
Are you the Guardian?
Now we got to talk about the campaign, because oh boy, this is where things get really rough. Look, I'm gonna be straight with you guys. Halo 5 campaign was not good at all. It's the worst campaign that I've ever played, but for a Halo game, for a follow-up for Halo 4's surprisingly emotional story, for a game that was marketed as this epic confrontation between Master Chief and Spartan Locke, it's a massive disappointment. The problems start right from the beginning. The game starts with Fireteam Osiris, led by Spartan Locke, during this incredibly choreographed action sequence that looks like something out of a Marvel movie. Technically impressive, but it feels nothing like Halo. Then you get to play these characters that you don't know or care about for the vast majority of the game. Out of 15 missions, you play Master Chief for 3 of them. 3. In a mainline Halo game, what were they thinking?
I did. Yeah, I did. I did.
The story itself is all over the place. The basic plot is that Cortana is back from the dead. She's found some ancient runner domain that cured her from her rampancy, and now she wants to use that giant runner and forces called the Guardians to impede on the galaxy through force. Master Chief goes AWOL to find her, and Locke's team is sent to bring him back. That could have been interesting if it was executed well, but instead we get a story that feels like it's missing half its cutscene. Characters' motivations change randomly, important plot points happen off screen. The much hyped confrontation between Chief and Locke amounts to one brief fistfight that has zero emotional weight to it. Cortana goes from beloved companion to the galactic dictator with barely any explanation or development. The Warden Eternal shows up as a boss fight 7 times, and I still don't understand what his deal was. Blue Team, Chief's old Spartan companion from the novels, finally appear in the game but barely gets any characterization. It's a mess. The worst part is how the campaign treats Master Chief. This is the guy who saved the humanity multiple times, who players embodies for over a decade, and spends most of his time in the game off screen and does nothing while we follow Locke around. When Chief does show up, he feels a bit out of character, blindly following what might be Cortana without questioning. The Chief we know would have been more cautious, more tactical. Here he just runs straight into obvious danger because the plot demands it. Playing through the campaign is frustrating too. The squad mechanic sounds cool on paper. You got 3 AI teammates who you can order around, who can revive you if you do go down, who should make you feel like you're leading a fire team. In practice, the AI is terrible. They'll watch you bleed out while standing 5 feet away. They'll ignore your commands to specific enemies. They get stuck on geometry pretty constantly. The whole campaign is based around having these revivals available, so when the AI fails, which is pretty often, difficulty spikes unfairly. Enemy design is another issue. The Prometheans are back and they're still annoying to fight. Knights are bullet sponges that teleport away when damaged. Soldiers spam you, homing weapons that force you into cover constantly. Crawlers attack in swarms but aren't really threatening enough to be interesting. And don't get me started on the Warden. That guy is everything wrong with boss design. Massive pool, one-hit attacks, and no interesting mechanics. Just a damage check that you have to repeat 7 times throughout the campaign. The design doesn't help either. Missions are either linear corridors or have huge open spaces with nothing interesting in them. There's no variety like previous Halo games. Remember the Silent from 1, where you assault a beach, explore an island, and delve into underground facilities? Or the Covenant from Halo 3 with vehicle combat, aerial battles, and multiple approaches to the objective? Halo 5 has none of that creativity. It's just room after room of shooting the same enemies in slightly different configurations. What makes it worse is that Halo 5 was marketed as something completely different. The Hunt, the True audio series, suggested this deep conspiracy thriller about cover-ups and Chief going rogue. The live action trailers showed Chief and Locke at each other's throat, suggesting that this personal conflict would be the define of the game. The marketing asked whether Chief was a hero or a traitor, building up this moral ambiguity that just doesn't exist in the actual game. It's like they for one story and then delivered something completely different. There are a few bright spots in the campaign. The Sanguilos missions where you help the Arbiter in his civil war are pretty cool, giving us our first look at the elite homeworld. Some of the set pieces are visually impressive, like when the Guardians emerge from underground. The music, while not as memorable as Marty O'Donnell's classic scores, has some solid moments, and playing with friends in co-op can even make the worst campaign more enjoyable, though the lack of split screen means you need multiple Xboxes to do it. But man, the lack of split screen still stings. Every Halo game had this co-op. It was a staple of the franchise, something that defined many players' experience with these games. Halo 5 dropped it to maintain 60 frames per second, which helps the gameplay, but killed a tradition that went back to 2001. I remember trying to play through the campaign with my buddy, same as we'd done every Halo before, only to find out that we needed 2 Xbox's copies of the game and 2 live subscriptions, and we just didn't even bother.
That's simply not possible.
Why isn't it possible?
It's just not.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
The campaign's failure is especially disappointing because Halo 4, for all of its faults, has some interesting narrative threads. The relationship between Chief and Cortana, the questions whether Chief was more of a machine than man, the idea that Spartans were broke people turned into weapons, all of this could have been explored in meaningful ways. Instead, we got this evil Cortana out of nowhere and a story that Halo Infinity had to basically retcon just to move on forward. So where does this all leave Halo 5 10 years later? It's a game of extreme contrast. The multiplayer is some of the best in the franchise, with moving mechanics that modernize the formula without losing what makes Halo special. The campaign is arguably the worst ever, with a story that disappointed the fans, and the gameplay felt like a setup backwards.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Is more financially successful than Halo in terms of post-launch revenue, but it's also the most controversial in terms of monetization. It has the best Forge mode ever, but no split screen to enjoy with friends on the same couch. I've been spending a lot of time at Halo 5 recently, and you know what? The multiplayer holds up remarkably well. When you're in a good arena match and when both teams are evenly matched and you're fighting for a map control, when you nail that perfect thrust to clamber move to flank enemy team, the game just rewards skill and teamwork in ways that modern shooters don't often do. There's no battle royale mode, no hero abilities, no kill streak, just pure area shooting with some of the best gunplay in the business. The community that's still playing is passionate too. They keep custom games alive, organizing tournaments and creating new maps and modes, and keeping this game breathing when all the rights should have been dead years ago. There's something special about joining a lobby full of people who've been playing the same game for a decade. They know every angle, every jump, and every spawn point. And then if you can hang with them, if you can hold your own against that level of experience, it feels like an achievement right there. But I can't ignore the missed opportunities. If Halo 5 had launched on PC, if it had been included in the Master Chief Collection, if it had a campaign that lived up to its potential, this could have been the defining Halo game. Instead, it's this weird island of the franchise separated from everything else, only accessible to those willing to stay in the Xbox ecosystem. It's like 343 had made this multiplayer that hardcore fans wanted, wrapped in a campaign that nobody asked for, and locked it away where half of the potential audience couldn't even play it. The REQ system legacy is complicated too. On one hand, it funded tons of free content and kept the community together. On the other hand, it normalized microtransaction in Halo and something that continued into Infinite with more aggressive monetization. Looking back, REQ packs seem almost quaint compared to the Infinite's $20 armor sets. At least Halo 5 you could earn everything through gameplay, even if it took forever. What's fascinating is how Halo 5's design philosophy influenced and then was rejected by Halo Infinite. Infinite scaled back movement abilities, removing thrust and keeping ground point while keeping sprint and chamber. It brought back classic equipment picks up instead of the built-in ability. It tried to find a middle ground between classic Halo and Halo 5's modernization, and in doing so might have pleased nobody fully. Playing both games back to back, Halo 5 feels more confident in its vision, even if that vision wasn't what everybody wanted. There's also this competitive scene to consider. Halo 5 had a healthy esports presence for years, with movement mechanics creating a skill gap that made for exciting matches to watch. Pro players could do things with thrust and clamber systems that looked superhuman. The spectator experience was enhanced by the battle chatter system, while Spartans automatically called out every enemy in positions, making it easier for viewers to follow the action. The HCS Halo Championship Series had some of the best years during the Halo 5's lifecycle. Looking back at the player retention data, Halo 5 actually held its population better than any 343 Halo game. While Halo 4 saw some massive drop-offs in months after the launch, Halo 5 maintained a steady player base for years.
Fest event where we had our community, our fans, 405th, most of 343. It was an incredible experience.
The free DLC model helped as it did consistent updates and refinements. Forge launching late actually might have helped retention, giving players a reason to come back months after the release. The game had legs in ways Infinite just despite all of its promise, but we have to talk about what the game means for the whole franchise as a whole. Halo 5 represents 434's biggest swings that make it their own. Halo 4 still feels like it was trying to be Bungie's Halo with some new idea. Halo 5 said, forget that, we're going full speed ahead with our own vision. The enhanced mobility, the ground pound, the REQ system, the focus on the fire team Osiris over the Chief, these weren't the safest choices. They were bold, risky decisions that showed 343 was willing to experiment. The problem is that many of those experiments failed, at least in the eyes of the fans. The campaign's reception was so poor that 343 basically pretended the Halo 5 story didn't happen in Making It Infinite. Locke, who was trying to be this new face of the franchise, has been legated to a helmet on a Banshee shoulder pad. Cortana heel turn was undone off screen. The guardians of these massive threats that ended Halo 5 barely get mentioned. It's like 343 wanted us to forget this game's story actually happened. Yet the multiplayer innovation stuck around for some time. The clamber mechanic made it to Infinite. The focus on competitive arena gameplay remained. The idea of free post-launch content funded by cosmetic purchases became the model going forward. Even the battle chatter system evolved into Infinite's AI companions. Halo 5's DNA is all over Infinite's multiplayer, even if 343 won't admit it. What really gets me thinking about what could have been. Imagine if Halo 5 has launched with a campaign that might match the multiplayer's quality. Imagine if it had the split screen co-op and PC vision from day one. Imagine if marketing had been honest about what the game actually was instead of selling us a completely different story. This could have been the Halo that united the fan base instead of dividing it, but that's not what happened. Instead, we got a game that's brilliant in ways and baffling in others. A game that pushed the franchise forward mechanically while stumbling narratively. A game that made more money than ever while alienating core fans. A game that still is fun to play today if you can even get past all the baggage. Here's my honest take after spending weeks revisiting the game. Halo multiplayer is genuinely excellent and deserves more credit than it gets. If you have an Xbox and Game Pass, you should try it. Get past the different movement mechanics and give yourself time to adjust, and you find one of the most refined competitive shooters in the last decade. The shooting feels incredible, the maps are well designed, and when everything clicks, it's is Halo's absolute best. The campaign though, skip that unless you're a completionist or really curious about how bad it is. Watch the cutscenes on YouTube if you really care about the story, but don't subject yourself to fighting the Warden Eternal 7 times. Your time is better spent literally anywhere else in the franchise. It's telling that 343 themselves basically said, yeah, let's pretend this didn't happen. The real tragedy of Halo is that it proved that 343 could have made an excellent Halo multiplayer experience, but it came packaged with a campaign that made most people question if they understood Halo at all. It's like getting a perfectly cooked steak served with a side of raw chicken. One part's great, but the other ruins the whole meal. And that's because of the campaign, because of the marketing, because of the deception, because of the lack of split screen. Halo 5's generally good parts get overcooked. So should Halo 5 come to PC in the Master Chief Collection? Absolutely. The multiplayer deserves to be preserved and accessible to everyone. Would it revive the game and bring thousands of new players? Probably not at this point, but it could give PC players a chance to experience what might be the most mechanically sound Halo multiplayer ever made. And who knows, maybe with some distance from the launch disappointment, people could appreciate what Halo 5 did. The REQ system legacies continue to influence gaming today. It showed that players would accept gameplay affecting microtransactions if they were implemented carefully and if the game base was good enough. For better or for worse, Halo 5 helped normalize as games as a service model in premium titles. Every battle pass, every seasonal event, every cosmetic shop can trace some DNA back to these experiments like REQ system. Looking at Halo 5 in 2025, it feels like a fascinating time capsule. This was 343's biggest bet in their attempt to modernize Halo for a new generation. While keeping the hardcore fans happy, they succeeded in making the multiplayer feel fresh and competitive, but they failed at telling the story worth caring about. They united the community with free ideals, then divided it by removing the split screen. They created the best forward mode ever and then locked it to one platform. The players that still grind to Halo 5 today are a testament to what the game got right. These aren't people that stuck in the past. They are playing this game because it offers something unique. The movement system, once you master it, provides a level of expression and skill that other Halos don't match. The arena maps are timeless. The gunplay is satisfying in ways that transcends the graphics or the age. And there's a purity to Halo 5's multiplayer that modern games with all the progression systems and battle passes and seasonal events have lost. But man, the campaign, every time I think about giving it another shot, I remember fighting them for the time and I just closed the game. I remember Locke's personality-free performance. I remember Chief acting out of character. I remember Cortana's nonsensical heel turn.
You look nice.
Thank you.
What a bitch.
I remember the promise of the hunt, the truth, and the reality of what we actually got. Not just bad, it's disappointing in all the way that something with great potential can be. What's wild is that Halo 5 might have inadvertently saved the franchise by failing. Its campaign was so poorly received that 343 had to go back to the basics with Infinite. The controversy forced them to re-examine what Halo meant to people. The backlash over the split screen made them promise never to ship a Halo without it. Sometimes you need failure to remind you what's important. And yet I keep going back to the multiplayer. Last night I played for 3 hours. Every match was different. Every encounter felt skill-based rather than random. When I won, I felt like I earned it. When I lost, I could see what I did wrong. That's increasingly rare in modern shooters where so many variables affect the outcome. Halo 5 strips away the noise and just lets you play. The weapon variants in Halo 5 deserve special mention too. The REQ system, for all its faults, introduced tons of unique weapons variants that changed how guns behave. The Whispered Truth, a 3-rounded burst magnum, the Norfang sniper that gives you damage boost, the Prophet's Bane sword with the increased lunge range and the speed boost. These weren't just stat changes, they fundamentally altered how you played with these weapons. Finding a legendary REQ weapon in this Warzone felt very special in a way that Infinite weapons variants just don't. And can we talk about the armor designs for a second? Yeah, I know, everyone hates Halo 5's armor. Too busy, too different from the classic designs, too many random patterns and lights. But you know what? At least they were trying something different. At least they were experimenting. Some designs were terrible, sure, but some were generally cool and unique. The Helios Skrill armor you get for completing all the campaigns on Legendary and MCC, that looks sick. The Achilles armor, the Spartan comedy combinations, incredible. These were variety and all landed. All right, let's wrap this up because I could talk about this game contradictions for another hour. Halo 5's Guardian is the most frustrating game in the franchise because it's simultaneously great and terrible. It's a game that understood Halo's multiplayer DNA better than any 343 project, but completely misunderstood what people loved and cared about in the campaign. It modernized the movement in brilliant ways, then locked it away for half the potential audience. It brought back the community together with free DLC, and then split it apart with no split screen. After 10 years, Halo 5 stands out as a monument to ambition and failure, innovation and disappointment. It's a game that tried to be everything to everyone and ended up being divisive to all. Yet despite all of its flaws, despite all of the terrible campaign, despite the controversial REQ system, the multiplayer that still sting, when you're in the zone, when you're flowing through all the map using your abilities in perfect harmony, when you land that perfect sniper shot after the thrust jump chamber combo, nothing else in the franchise feels quite like it. So here's my final verdict. Halo 5's multiplayer is legitimately one of the best cooperative shooters of the last decade and deserves better than to be downgraded and dragged by its awful campaign. If you have access to Xbox, if you can get past a different feel, if you can give it an honest chance, you might find your new favorite Halo multiplayer. Just do yourself a favor and skip the campaign entirely. Your sanity would thank you. The tragedy isn't that Halo 5 was bad. The tragedy is half of it was brilliant, and that brilliance got buried under disappointment and broken promises. It deserves to be preserved, to be made accessible to everyone, to be remembered for what it got right rather than what it got wrong. Because beneath all the controversy, all the failed experiments, all the missed opportunity, there's an excellent competitive shooter that pushed the franchise forward in ways that we're still feeling today. And who knows, maybe one day we'll get that PC port. Maybe one day we'll join the Master Chief Collection. Maybe one day people will be able to experience that multiplayer without all the baggage. Until then, it remains gaming's most frustrating failure, a game that flew too close to the sun with wings made of incredible multiplayer and terrible storytelling. That's going to do it for this review, everyone. This has been a massive deep dive, and I hope it gave you some new perspective on Halo's most divisive entry. Whether you loved it, whether you hate it, or never played it, I'd hope to hear your thoughts in the comments. What did you think of Halo 5? Did the multiplayer redeem the campaign for you? Do you think it should come to PC? If you enjoyed this review and want to see some more deep dives to controversial games, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. I'm putting out new content every week and taking honest looks into games that divided the communities. And hey, if you want to see me in some of this multiplayer action live, come check out my Twitch stream. I stream 4 nights a week and I would love to see you there. Link is in the description. Until then, stay safe, stay smart, and stay alpha.